My name is Christina. I weigh and measure 3 meals a day. Write them.
Christina, do you want me to give you any warnings or?
Sure. Could you give me a 5-minute warning? So,
Okay,
after
after 10 minutes then. Okay, got it.
right. Okay. My name is Christina. I write my meals down. I call them into my sponsor, and I don't eat in between meals no matter what. And I'm grateful to participate in Gray Sheet today. I just wanted to read first from the big book because it's my treasure map to God. And it's the only, it grounds me whenever I feel anxious. I have a lot of anxiety, and I'll explain why. So what I'm going to read is from the big book, chapter 9, page 124. The painful past may be an infinite value to other families still struggling with the problem. We think each family which has been relieved owes something to those who have not, and when the occasion requires, each member of it should be only too willing to bring former mistakes, no matter how grievous, out of their hiding places, showing others who suffer how we were given help in this very thing which makes life seem so much worthwhile to us now. Cling to the thought that in God's hands, the dark past is the greatest possession you have, the key to life and happiness for others. With it, you can avert death and misery for them. And this was shared to me by somebody who was struggling with something very similar what I'm going through. So with that reading, and it did calm me down, always works. Always works. So with that, I just wanted to tell you that my sobriety, my abstinence date is July 14th, 2024. I just hit over 5 months. And my sobriety date is this, thank you. It's been a long time. And my sobriety date is December 24th, 1994. So tomorrow I get to celebrate 30 years. Higher power willing, I'll wake up sober tomorrow. And I also want to tell you, I'm usually in bed at 7:30, but since Elle asked me, I was like, okay, I had to pause and pray when Elle asked me the other day. I was like, I've got to be wrapping gifts. I've got to get to bed. I've got to do my brain health. But when Elle asked, I knew I needed to say yes. So, and it's just funny. My brain was just like, I can't do this. I can't do this. And then I talked to my AA sponsor this morning. She said, what else do you have to do, Christina? Seriously, what else? Wrap gifts. That's it. So my brain, it's the brain. It's what's between these two ears that gets me in trouble all the time. So I just wanted to share that I was born in 1964, which I just celebrated in October, my 60th birthday. And anyway, and I was born like a puffy baby. I was, when I look at pictures of me, I had like the food fog halo all over my face and my body. I had that food fog glow. So I was like, huh, even back then as an infant, I could see that in me. And but I also came from domestic violence, like severe violence and abuse. So a lot of my like toddler years and my elementary and middle school and high school, I was extremely petite and gaunt because I was living off of adrenaline. I was living off of chronic fear and trauma. So basically, you can't eat when you're going through that much. But then at 18, I went through a really horrific, violent situation, and my brain snapped. And I'll tell you, after that trauma, food was the only thing I thought of, how much I could get. So that was high school. And then then it somehow I ate my way through college, and I only had 2 more classes to graduate, and I left college because of the food and alcohol. I just couldn't do both. I had to give something up, right? So obviously I wanted the alcohol and the food, but I'll stick with the food because food is my love. That's my primary, and that's where the DNA always tries to take me back, is to the food, the food, the food. and definitely the carbohydrates, definitely. So, well, one afternoon after work, I was working like just a basic job. I came home, I got on my knees. It was a really crummy apartment I lived in. I was like, I need help with the food. The food is keeping me back. It's holding me back. I was always going 10 steps backwards and maybe a half step forward. I was like, this is just so painful. So the emotional pain. And what happened was after I prayed, I walked on, I lived in Princeton, New Jersey. I walked on campus, and lo and behold, my curiosity, I thought it was my curiosity, I ended up in this building on campus. It was Murray Dodge Hall, and this was in 1986. And I saw OA literature. I walked right into the door and went right over to the literature. So, the prayer, and within hours, I saw that literature. And the next day, and then I was like, okay, there's a schedule here. And I tried to figure out, and the following day, there was a meeting right where I was standing. And I was like, bingo, 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 right? I felt like I won the lottery. I was so thrilled. So I definitely showed up the next day. And just to share with you, I was bulimic, compulsive, and anorexic at that time. And after my first meeting, I no longer had the bulimia. I still had the compulsion and I still had the anorexia side, but I was just grateful that the bulimia no longer had to be a part of my story. So in 1986, I was able to give that up. But I also was like, I learned about act as if, and so I was always acting as if, but I was still struggling. And I didn't realize it was the carbohydrate sensitivity that I struggled with. So I'm like, I'm acting as if I'm not changing. I've got a job now. I have a career. I started dating. I actually was able to commit in a relationship, which I was the first one to run. And I didn't run this time. So I was able, but I was acting and acting and acting. I'm like, something's not connecting. There's just no, and still my emotions were power struggle. I was too powerful. I was insecure. I was like teeter-tottering emotionally and with the food. And so I'll just end up with, yeah, I'll tell you. So my husband and I, we dated for a year, and well, it was my boyfriend at the time. 2001, we had our first child. I wasn't married yet. We had our first child because I didn't feel worthy of being married, right? And that's the food again. It made me feel so unworthy and so insecure, the carbohydrates especially. So the 2001, we had Savannah. 2002, we had India. And then in 2004, we had my precious son, Justice. And and by 2004, I was in New Jersey. I went to an OA meeting and I met somebody from GreySheet there. Oh, wait. So I prayed. I'm like, I'm pregnant with my third child. I'm miserable. The food is just torturing me. So what did I do? I went to OA and I asked for help and guidance. And I went to an OA meeting, and there was this wonderful woman from GreySheet. And I just had to say to her before the meeting started, the OA meeting, that I'm really struggling. And she said, well, I hate to tell you what I do, but maybe it'll help you. And she told me about GreySheet. So that was in 2004. So I'll speed it up a little bit. I just wanted to say in 2004, I found out that we were moving. My husband had a promotion. He was taking us from New Jersey to California, to Monterey, California. So just to let you know, when I was delivering my son Justice in the hospital, a kind woman, her name is Cindy MM, and she's from GreySheet, delivered meals to me at the hospital in Princeton because my home was being packed up to move. It was just the most, when higher power moves, he just goes, So when it was time for me, and it was just so weird. Like, I'm delivering a baby and strangers are in my house packing for me. So I was like, and I had two other babies. So what an angel she is, right? And so we moved to California, lost contact with GreySheet. And so I prayed to go back to the East Coast. And my husband came home and he said, and this is after I prayed, he said, we're going to Manhattan. I'm being transferred to Manhattan. And I was like, bingo, soldiers and sailors, here I come. And that's exactly what happened. I had 3 little ones. A company came and packed us up from California, and I got involved in soldiers and sailors. We moved again, and I'll just tell you, we kept on moving, and I lost contact again with Gray Sheet. But I'll tell you, in 2017, I was in Clearwater, moving to Boca for my husband's job again, and somebody told me, I said,
Christina, that's 10.
okay, thank you. Somebody told me that look for this woman named Elle. I went to my first AA meeting, Elle was there. So I'll just wrap it up. So so I met Elle, and then I lost contact again during COVID. But I just want to tell you, my son, my precious, handsome, spiritual, intelligent son died recently. And it brought me to my knees that I would lose something so precious. He was 19. It was just an accident. And over in the hospital with his breathing tube in and making the decision to take it off, the first thing that came to my mind is this is, you know, God's will, God's will. And I just Gray Sheet came to my mind. It's like I just can't think of any other way to get through this but with Gray Sheet. And anyway, what I've learned from this, horrific situation, the trauma that my children, my husband and I are going through, is Gray Sheet taught me to take care. I wake up in the morning and say, how can I care for me? Because if I can care for me with Gray Sheet, I can care for my family who need me. And I learned about commitment versus complacent. I used to be complacent with my Gray Sheet. No longer. I'm fully committed. I do what is told. I show up on time and I give my all. When I was in Gray Sheet before, it was kind of like I wanted to do it because, it was spiritual and the food and, but I didn't want to do it. I had reservations. That's what it was. No more reservations. And the last thing that I can tell you is, well, where do I find comfort now? I can't find it in my son. I can't find it in the food. So I had to use other resources that higher power gives us. Like, I use my hands a lot. I'm always using my hands now to talk. I get on, my sponsor, my food sponsor and I laugh like crazy. She knows how sad I am, but somehow we laugh so hard that I cry. And the other thing is, like, even something hot in my hands, like a hot herbal tea, anything. Or what did I do? Oh, I walked by the Christmas tree today and the smell of the pine needles, right? The smell of a pine tree, or walking my dog in Boca, it's like dog walking weather all day, all night. So I could walk my dog in the evening, look up at the stars, see my son in the sky, right? And just say, wow, the universe is vast. So I think I'll just I'll end it there. Just my commitment and just brain trauma. The only cure for brain trauma is obviously grief therapy and Gray Sheet. Yeah, that's all I have to share. Thank you.